Hello everybody and welcome back to Full House Sports here, myself Charlie. Reminder before the video starts, please like, comment and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated. I'll try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Now, Europe's latest club in crisis find themselves sitting bottom of their league with no wins and 6 points to their name. And that club is, of course, Fiorentina. Anybody who's followed the channel for a while knows that I'm a passionate lover of Italian football. And that sounds quite weird, that passionate lover, but that is how I feel about Italian football. And to see a club the size of Fiorentina, La Viola, currently sitting bottom of the table, winless and completely in crisis, is quite frankly astonishing. It's a club that, yes, did lose their manager, Raffaele Palladino, over the summer, but let's not forget, adequately replaced him with Stefano Pioli, who as recently as 2022 was winning Scudettos with AC Milan. And now they find themselves at the bottom of the league and staring down the barrel of Serie B. Why that is a litany of reasons. Firstly, I think there's been a real underperformance on the pitch from certain players. Piccoli was bought in the summer for 20 million, and there's a feeling around the club that the players that they bought for large sums of money, Piccoli included, were not actually worth the price tags that they paid. I think Piccoli is a prime example because when Moise Kean, who was a real help for the team last year in terms of the goals he scored, he has been underperforming himself. Piccoli was the man who I think a lot of La Viola fans have been looking at and going, well, that's the person who's going to make up for that. And he's really been struggling himself. There's others as well who have been struggling. I think as well, talking of signings, the signings of, for example, Tariq Lamptey to replace fullbacks that have been sold on for the club, such as Michael Coyote to Brentford. Although Lamptey has been signed, he's a much different style of fullback to those that Fiorentina have had in the past. And because of that, I think he's left them very exposed at the back. Fiorentina have slowly, I think, suffered what a lot of clubs around Europe have suffered, that are in a similar position to themselves, where you keep selling and selling on assets, and eventually the replacement line is going to stop. For example, Coyote, another example for Michael and Nottingham Forest, Nikola Milenkovic, everyone's been ranting and raving about he has been one of the signings of our Premier League stint, I guess, since we came up. He's been outstanding. If you keep selling on those players, you're going to keep finding it hard to replace that quality and match that quality. At the other end of the pitch, like I say, Moise Kean is underperforming, and new signing Edin Dzeko, who was brought in the summer, is really underperforming himself, and perhaps fans feel was a bit of a waste of a signing. He actually confronted the fans at the weekend surrounding the troubles they're getting from them, as Fiorentina have announced that they've upped security measures for the players with risk of recent threat. The current manager Paolo Vanoli replaced Pioli, who was sacked halfway through the start of the season as Fiorentina were winless. And Pioli, of course, replaced Palladino. It feels like the board has been making error after error after error, whether that be the whole falling out between the sporting director and Palladino, who, let's not forget, was doing really well and did really well with Fiorentina in what looked like they were building quite a good project at the end of last year, with the likes of David De Gea adding experience. Palladino, let's not forget, built a relatively new squad, and there was a lot of new players there, and it felt like they were starting to gel under him. He was then fired because, like I say, of trouble at boardroom level. Pioli was brought in. That was a match made in hell, it's fair to say. And then now, the club have brought in Paolo Vanoli in order to try and stem that flow of recent poor results. I think it's going to be really interesting because I think Fiorentina, who, let's not forget, have not been in Serie B for playing reasons since the 90s. Yes, they were relegated in 2002, but that was due to bankruptcy. In 1992, that great football Italia era, they were relegated to Serie B, but that was due to playing reasons. They haven't been at that level before. And for a club the size of them, who in what a Serie as real giants, I guess, and certainly those of a certain age will remember from the football Italia era, it feels quite crazy that they are going to be potentially playing second division football. Like I say, I think they're suffering like a lot of clubs of this constant conveyor belt. They're always they're all in the same market, and eventually it's going to fall. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to try and get more back on my Italian football news because I do love the league and things are really heating up. But as always, guys, have a great day.